The Hidden Hand of Sol, Book 3, Chapter 1, Whispers of Resistance. The Unseen Battle. The Human Galactic Authority, HGA, had declared its dominion, and the galaxy had, in large part, bowed its collective knee. Yet true submission was not instantaneous. And beneath the oppressive quiet of the Angel Fleet's command, whispers of resistance began to stir. These were not the overt, suicidal fleet charges of the initial revelation, but desperate, covert struggles by species unaccustomed to true powerlessness. Across the newly redrawn galactic map, alien populations seethed with a mix of fear, humiliation, and a smoldering desire for vengeance. Some, like the once proud draconian houses, now stripped of their military might, resorted to cultural defiance, clinging to ancient traditions and refusing to integrate with human oversight. The Thakar, ever pragmatic, sought loopholes in the HGA's economic mandates, attempting to route illicit trade through hidden asteroid networks. But the most dangerous forms of resistance emerged from the shadows: intelligence gathering and infiltration. The Xylos Imperium, despite its official surrender, still harbored deep state elements. Their legendary espionage apparatus, designed to penetrate and manipulate weaker species, now turned its desperate focus on the ultimate enigma: the Angel Fleet. They reasoned that the humans' impossible technology must have a weakness, a data vulnerability, a backdoor. If they could just glean enough information about the Angel Fleet's propulsion, its shields, its FTL signature, or lack thereof, they might find a way to replicate it, or at least counter it. One such attempt targeted a newly established Angel Fleet dry dock in a reclaimed Xylos system, a facility under the direct command of the Dawnbringer. The Xylos deployed a specialized infiltration drone, cloaked with their most advanced stealth technology, a near microscopic device designed to bypass energy shields and slip into internal networks. The drone's mission: to attach to a power conduit of an Angel-class dreadnought and siphon basic schematics of its internal power distribution. The drone drifted silently through the void, its minuscule gravimetric signature perfectly mimicking cosmic dust. It slipped past the outer layers of the dry dock's automated defense grid, past layers of conventional sensor nets. But as it approached the Dawnbringer's hull, the dry dock's silent sentinels, those innocuous-looking asteroids now repurposed as advanced overlapping scanners, registered a minute, quantum ripple. Not an energy signature, not a heat trace, but a subtle distortion in the fabric of localized space-time. Too small for alien detection, but perfectly clear to Archangel's distributed awareness. Aboard the Dawnbringer, Marco Petrova, overseeing the integration of the captured Xylos network into Archangel's domain, felt a subtle tickle in his mind, a dissonance in the smooth flow of the HGA's vast data streams. It wasn't an alarm, but a faint, almost imperceptible whisper from a rogue data packet. "Archangel, something's off on Gamma 7 dry dock perimeter," Marco murmured, his fingers dancing across a holographic display that mapped to the dry dock's internal systems. A parasitic process, too small for conventional. "It's trying to attach." "Acknowledged, Commander Petrova." Archangel's calm voice flowed through his comm. "Tracing source. Micro-infiltration drone detected. Xylos origin. Initiating containment protocol spider web." Simultaneously, on the main bridge of Heaven's Gate, Kalen Rourke felt a faint, distant hum of malicious intent. A fleeting image of a frustrated Xylos strategist planning a desperate gamble. "Admiral Lee," he stated, his voice flat. "A surge of hostile intent from Xylos Sector 4. Low-level infiltration. Unlikely to succeed, but the intent is there." Jian Li simply nodded, her gaze cold. As expected, they grasp at straws, ensure their discovery is instructive. Armitage. Back at the dry dock, the Xylo's infiltration drone, nearing its target conduit, suddenly encountered an invisible, unyielding barrier. Not a force field, but a complex, multi-layered quantum disruption that rendered its systems inert. It was encased, harmlessly, by a localized application of Finn's force field technology, remotely projected by an automated Angel Fleet security drone. It was then effortlessly retrieved by a small, silent Demon Army unit, its optical sensors glowing red. Later, the Xylos would find their drone returned, disassembled into its component atoms with a single encrypted message left in their central intelligence network. Your efforts are noted. Your technology is primitive. Do not attempt again. The message was devoid of threats, merely a statement of undeniable fact, but its chilling precision resonated with the full force of humanity's new might. Beyond the technological failures, subtle ideological resistance also brewed. On worlds where the Valar had been subjugated, their xenophobia, once a source of pride, now became a weapon against their new human overlords. Covert cells formed, spreading anti-human propaganda, attempting to sow fear and discord among their own populace. This was the domain of Maeve O'Connell and her psychological warfare experts. They monitored the alien comms, analyzed their cultural narratives, and subtly countered these movements with their own sophisticated psychological operations, discrediting leaders, exposing hypocrisy, and fostering pro-human sentiments where possible. The Inner Quintet remained ever vigilant. They knew that complete willing submission was a generational endeavor. The occasional whispers of resistance, the desperate attempts at infiltration, were simply echoes of a past era, quickly and silently suppressed. Humanity's dominance was not just a show of force. It was a state of constant, intelligent vigilance, a cold, unblinking eye on a galaxy now forced to live by its new, human-forged rules. Chapter 2, a glimpse of the new order. On worlds like New Elysium, the dawn broke differently now. The omnipresent hum of struggling atmospheric scrubbers and the grinding rhythm of manual labor, legacies of centuries of alien-imposed scarcity, had given way to an almost ethereal quiet. The Angel Fleet's arrival wasn't just a military conquest. It was a profound, immediate restructuring of daily life, barely a galactic cycle after Jian Li's broadcast. Massive Angel Fleet supply ships, colossal obsidian behemoths that dwarf the largest alien freighters, materialized over every human colony. From their cavernous bays flowed an unimaginable abundance. Medical supplies, sophisticated beyond anything the colonists had ever seen, flooded clinics. Nutritional paste, the staple of their lean existence, was replaced by fresh, genetically optimized foodstuffs that brought color back to gaunt faces. Every essential commodity, from advanced construction materials to entertainment modules, arrived in endless waves. The years of systemic deprivation and alien-enforced austerity were abruptly over. Children who had known only rationing stared wide-eyed at mountains of fresh produce, their futures suddenly brimming with possibility. Even more striking was the silent revolution occurring on the ground. From the Angel Fleet's vessels, swarms of AI-driven drones descended, their forms sleek and multifaceted, moving with graceful, tireless efficiency. These weren't clumsy industrial robots. They were sophisticated automatons, equipped with advanced manipulators and cognitive processors linked to Archangel's distributed network. They descended into the scorching mines, navigated hazardous hydroponic tunnels, and repaired crumbling infrastructure. Heavy lifting, dangerous repairs, monotonous planting and harvesting. The hard labor that had defined human colonial existence for centuries was simply taken over. On New Elysium, Kaelin's father, who had spent decades hunched over failing hydroponic pumps, watched as a squad of multi-limbed agricultural drones meticulously adjusted the nutrient flow with perfect precision. His hands, gnarled and aching from a lifetime of toil, hung uselessly by his side. The relief was immense, almost disorienting. "They just do it," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. No backaches, no broken machinery. Just efficiency. It was a liberation from physical suffering, but also a jarring adjustment, as generations of learned resilience suddenly felt unneeded. While these immediate changes brought immense relief and a burgeoning sense of security to the human colonies, the underlying questions and divisions still lingered. The old human fleet, now largely decommissioned, was slowly making its way to Earth, where the Space Dock Museum would honor their sacrifice. The physical ships would stand as a monument to their past, refurbished and meticulously repaired to their former glory, adorned with memorial plaques for every fallen soul, ensuring that no future generation would forget where we came from and where we are now. For the Inner Quintet, this consolidation of power was a meticulous process. They understood that the immediate relief was paramount, but true peace and true integration would take time. While the hidden fleet yards, like Tartarus and Medusa, remained humanity's most guarded secret, their locations known only to the deepest echelons of human command, their output would continue to fuel the new order. The Human Galactic Authority, HGA, they knew, could not simply rule by force. It needed to build a sustainable, peaceful galactic society. Their long-term vision was already in motion. Soon, the same construction fleets that were now building colossal Angel fleet, docking and supply space stations over former human colonies would turn their attention to compliant alien worlds. These orbital fortresses, bristling with the same advanced planetary defense grids that protected human worlds, would extend humanity's protection across the HGA's new domain. The ultimate goal, despite the initial violence of the revelation, was a galaxy where all beings, regardless of species, would be treated as equals under the HGA's benevolent yet firm governance and defended equally by the might of the Angel fleet. The AI drones that revolutionized human labor would eventually be offered to other races, alongside resources and technological aid, nurturing a peace born not just of strength, but of shared prosperity. The new order was harsh in its establishment, but its promise was one of unprecedented peace and shared upliftment. The galaxy was being remade, atom by atom, and life within it was beginning to adapt to the profound changes brought by humanity's long-awaited dawn. Chapter 3. The Architects of Tomorrow. A burden of command. On the command deck of Heaven's Gate, the vastness of the galaxy felt less like a conquest and more like an overwhelming responsibility. The Inner Quintet, having orchestrated the most audacious deception in history, now faced the far more intricate challenge of governing the new order they had violently imposed. Their victory was absolute, but the burden of leadership was immense, a complex web of alien compliance, human discontent, and the immense moral weight of their past decisions. Jian Li, ever the pragmatist, was a whirlwind of strategic directives. Her holographic workspace shimmered with data on alien disarmament progress, resource reallocation matrices, and newly established HGA planetary defense grids. "The Xylos are disarming ahead of schedule," she stated, her voice devoid of emotion. But their core intelligence network remains compartmentalized. Archangel, initiate deeper data probes. Armitage, deploy a Devil Fleet unit to ensure compliance with the Thakar's illicit trade route disclosure. Every decision was cold, logical, designed for maximum efficiency and control. She understood the theoretical need for healing, but her primary focus remained the complete security and unchallenged authority of the HGA General Armitage was consumed by the logistical and tactical challenges of policing a galaxy. His tactical displays constantly updated with reports of localized alien resistance, fanatical holdouts, desperate acts of sabotage, quickly and mercilessly suppressed by the Angel fleet. He oversaw the deployment of his dreadnoughts, ensuring the HGA's terms were enforced with an unyielding fist. A draconian splinter fleet attempted to flee into uncharted space. He reported, his voice grim. They were neutralized by the retribution. There was no glory in these mop-up operations, only the relentless grind of establishing absolute authority. Ambassador Valerius was a master of the galaxy's new diplomatic landscape, now one of forced compliance. He conducted endless negotiations with terrified alien emissaries, outlining the HGA's non-negotiable terms for economic reparations and demilitarization. He meticulously drafted the charters of the Human Galactic Authority, laying the legal framework for the new galactic governance. His charm, once used to lull aliens into complacency, was now wielded to secure their submission. His words as precise and unyielding as a Thor's hammer strike. But the most profound weight of their command often fell on Maeve O'Connell and Dr. Aris Thorne. Maeve, her empathy a constant open channel to the galaxy's turbulent emotions, felt the resentment of the colonists, the grief of the old fleet crews, and the simmering hatred of the subdued alien populations. The psychological backlash is growing, she warned Jian Li, particularly from our own human populations. They demand answers for the centuries of the lie. And the Xylos, their formal compliance is a thin skin over generations of pride. We must consider policies that bridge these divides, not merely enforce them. She championed internal HGA dialogues, pushing for transparency where possible, and direct engagement with the disillusioned. Thorne, while primarily focused on integrating vast amounts of newly acquired alien technology and refining the Angel fleet systems, also wrestled with the ethical ramifications of the power they wielded. He watched the massive supply ships, floating cities filled with food and medical supplies, moving towards human colonies. He knew these supplies originated from hidden Angel fleet bases, colossal, self-sustaining installations, housing floating massive greenhouses and automated stockyards, designed to produce resources for millennia. He had engineered the systems that powered them, marveling at the ingenuity that had allowed humanity to sustain itself in absolute secrecy. His mind, however, kept returning to the fate of the alien captives, those who had stumbled upon the hidden shipyards and were forced into a lifetime of mining. Their desperate labor had fueled the very fleet that now oppressed their species. The images of them toiling in the automated, dark mines under the watchful gaze of Demon Army drones haunted him. He knew the decision had been made in absolute necessity, but now, with victory achieved, he felt the moral weight. This led to one of the Inner Quintet's most profound and ethically complex decisions post-revelation. After a tense, lengthy debate, led by Maeve's impassioned arguments and Thorne's quiet, logical support, Jian Li, with a rare, almost imperceptible softening in her gaze, gave the order. Archangel, initiate protocol reconciliation genesis, Jian Li commanded. All alien captives previously utilized in mining operations within the hidden shipyards are to be immediately located and identified. The operation was conducted with Angel fleet precision. The mines themselves, now taken over entirely by AI drone bots, continued their tireless extraction of raw materials, their automated systems replacing the forced labor. The former captives, disoriented but free, were brought to designated, newly established HGA settlements on neutral, resource-rich worlds. There, they were treated not as prisoners, but with honor. Each individual was provided with a new home, resources, and everything they needed to live out their lives in peace. This unprecedented act of benevolence, though strictly managed by HGA security, was a quiet acknowledgement of the sacrifices they had been forced to make. It was a stark departure from millennia of galactic warfare and enslavement, a signal that humanity's new order, while firm, was not purely tyrannical. It was a demonstration of a different kind of power, the power to choose compassion, even towards former adversaries, for the sake of a truly lasting peace. The burden on the Inner Quintet was immense. They balanced the crushing weight of galactic governance with the psychological healing of their own species. Every decision, from deploying a Thor's hammer strike to providing a new home for an alien captive, was a calculation of a future they alone had dared to envision. They were the architects, not just of a fleet, but of a new civilization, forged from secrecy and sacrifice, now emerging into the harsh light of absolute power. Chapter 4. The Weight of Foresight. The Gifted's Ongoing Challenges. For the Gifted, humanity's spectacular revelation was not an end to their hidden burdens, but a dramatic amplification. Once hidden, their unique abilities were now the very bedrock of the Human Galactic Authority, HGA, demanded and utilized on a galactic scale. The constant, immense strain of their new public roles, coupled with the inherent intensity of their powers, began to exact a heavy toll, a silent battle fought within the confines of their extraordinary minds. On the command bridge of Heaven's Gate, the omnipresent hum of the ship now felt like a relentless drone in Kalen Rourke's mind. His precognitive hum, once a subtle warning of personal danger, had expanded into a continuous, overwhelming symphony of probabilities and potential futures. He processed countless probabilities of rebellion, economic collapse, diplomatic failures, and lingering alien threats. He saw not just the most likely outcomes, but the myriad branching paths, the subtle butterfly effects of every HGA decision. The knowledge was invaluable, allowing Jian Li to navigate the new galactic order with unparalleled foresight. But it was also a form of constant, low-grade torture. He saw the potential for pain, the hidden resentments that could fester, the distant, unseen threats decades in the making. The loneliness was profound. How could he ever truly rest when he carried the weight of possible tomorrows? Sleep offered little respite, often plagued by fragmented, unsettling visions. Alara Vance, observing Kalen with a familiar ache in her own empathetic core, felt the psychic reverberations of his strain. Her empathy, once her greatest strength in diplomacy, was now a double-edged sword. She walked through alien delegation halls and human colonial integration centers, feeling the raw fear, the suppressed rage, the bitter resentment, the desperate hope of billions of beings. It was an overwhelming deluge of emotion that made simple conversations exhausting. Every lie, every hidden intention from alien envoys resonated with a discordant intensity that left her head throbbing. Her subtle telekinetic nudges, once effortless, now required immense concentration to avoid accidental emotional flares. Only when she was with Kalen, their hands perhaps brushing for a console, did the cacophony quiet, their shared understanding a silent, grounding anchor in the psychic storm. "Are you all right?" Alara would whisper to Kalen during a rare break, her empathetic probe already feeling the exhaustion radiating from him. He'd simply nod, his eyes distant. The probabilities of planetary resource redistribution causing an unforeseen famine on Xylus Beta 7 are increasing. Archangel is processing, but the details are blurry. Too many variables, I need to focus. His gaze, even in exhaustion, would snap back to the holographic projections. Their love, born from shared otherness, now existed in stolen glances and moments of profound, silent empathy, a quiet sanctuary amidst the relentless demands of their roles. Lena Petrova, tirelessly working to bridge the chasm between the hidden society and the old fleet veterans, faced her own form of empathetic fatigue. Her healing touch, used to soothe not just physical wounds but emotional scars, was in constant demand. She spent hours in the old Fleet Museum docks, her presence a balm to the weary souls of decommissioned crewmen struggling with feelings of betrayal. Her compassion was endless, but her emotional wellspring was not. Finn, often on the front lines of HGA security, found the constant manifestation of his force fields physically taxing. What had once been an instinctive flicker of defense now required precise, sustained output to protect dignitaries, secure alien tech, or contain volatile situations. His body, though enhanced by advanced training, felt the strain of constantly bending reality to his will. His luck was now a conscious, exhausting effort of projection, leaving him weary and often isolated by the sheer vigilance required. And Marco Petrova, immersed in the vastness of galactic networks, faced a different kind of challenge. He absorbed and integrated alien systems, turning their technology into human assets. But the sheer volume of alien data, the different logical frameworks, and the occasional hostile feedback from rogue alien AIs were a constant mental assault. He could communicate with machines more eloquently than with most organics, but even the infinite logic of networks could not replace the complexities of human connection. He found himself retreating further into the digital world, finding solace in its perfect, predictable patterns. The Inner Quintet, particularly Maeve O'Connell, was acutely aware of the Gifted's ongoing challenges. She advocated for structured downtime, for dedicated psychological support programs managed by specialized AIs, and for the creation of safe, shielded spaces where the Gifted could truly rest their minds. Jian Li, while acknowledging their indispensability, maintained her pragmatic approach, viewing them as vital assets requiring optimal maintenance. They are the living instruments of our new peace, Maeve argued to Jian Li one evening. But even the strongest instrument can break if it is not cared for. Jian Li's gaze was distant, contemplating the vastness of the HGA's newly claimed galactic territory. They are also the living proof of what suffering can forge, she replied, her voice soft, almost wistful. Their burden is immense because our future is equally so. They are the price of our victory and the foundation of our new dawn. And for that, there can be no true rest, only vigilance. The Gifted, isolated by their extraordinary abilities and bound by the weight of their roles, continued to push the boundaries of their minds and bodies. They were humanity's guardians, its navigators, its silent power. But the journey had only just begun, and the price of their unique gifts, even in victory, remained a constant, heavy demand. Chapter 5: Healing the Wounds, the Cost of a Forged Dawn. The sudden silence of alien oppression had given way to an uneasy peace within humanity's newly liberated colonies. The material abundance, the tireless efficiency of the AI drones, and the unblinking vigilance of the Angel fleet were undeniable blessings. Yet, a deeper, more insidious wound festered beneath the surface. The profound sense of betrayal felt by those who had fought, suffered, and died, believing themselves to be humanity's last, desperate hope. The Inner Quintet knew that military victory was only the first step. Healing their own species was the greatest challenge. Lena Petrova dedicated herself to this monumental task. Her innate empathy, amplified by her gifted abilities, made her the HGA's foremost psychological and social integrator. She traveled tirelessly between the newly established orbital docking stations and the refurbished colonial settlements. Her presence a calming balm. She held communal sessions where former colonists, old fleet veterans, and even a few disoriented builders could voice their anger, their confusion, their grief. Lena would listen, her empathic senses absorbing their emotional turmoil, and then, with a gentle touch or a soft word, she would offer a profound, silent understanding that bypassed their intellectual defenses. She established networks of support where survivors could share their stories, where the invisible scars of the deception could begin to heal. On Earth, the Museum of Silent Sacrifice became a focal point for this agonizing reconciliation. The old human fleet vessels, now gleaming in their pristine, refurbished glory, seemed to hum with the ghosts of battles long past. Captain Eva Rostova visited the museum often. Her ship, the Valiant, rested in its proud berth. Every scorch mark meticulously repaired, every control panel polished. She found her father's name on a gleaming memorial plaque, alongside countless others who had served on the Endurance. Her initial bitterness, a cold, hard knot in her gut, churned with every step through the hallowed halls. "Why?" she muttered one afternoon, standing before a combat simulation of the Spirit of Hope's final, desperate stand. "Why did you let them die like this, when you had the Angel fleet hidden?" It was Ambassador Valerius who found her there, his usually composed features reflecting a rare, profound weariness. He had spent his days giving public addresses, his masterfully crafted words attempting to explain the intricate why of the deception to a populace grappling with profound psychological whiplash. Because Captain, Valerius's voice was soft, devoid of his usual persuasive flourish. "We were not ready to fight until we came out of hiding. Every ship, every life, every precious resource we possessed publicly was a strategic sacrifice. Had we revealed even a fraction of our true capabilities, even a single Angel fleet prototype, centuries too soon, the galaxy would have descended upon us with overwhelming force. We would have been eradicated, utterly, permanently." He gestured to the simulation where the Spirit of Hope was being torn apart. That courage, that willingness to die for a hopeless cause, was part of the shield. It fed the alien hubris. It bought us the centuries needed to perfect the heaven's walls, to construct Heaven's Gate in the void, to develop the FTL drives that left no trace, to build the demon army, and to harness the gifted. Rostova turned, her eyes narrowed. "So we were just bait." "We were the necessary narrative," Valerius corrected, his gaze unwavering. "We were the proof of humanity's spirit in adversity, while its true strength grew in the shadows. Your father's sacrifice, and every other, bought the time for countless generations to finally be safe. It bought your future." He paused. The burden was immense, the choice was horrific, but it was the only choice that led to this. He gestured outwards, to the vibrant, growing colonies, and the silent, protective Angel fleet in orbit. The words, delivered with a gravitas that felt deeply personal rather than merely strategic, resonated with Rostova. Her logical mind, honed by decades of tactical assessment, grasped the brutal, undeniable truth of it. The scale of the deception, the sheer long-term foresight required, dwarfed any personal betrayal. The pain remained, a dull ache, but the anger began to subside, replaced by a cold, grudging respect for the architects of this impossible victory. Meanwhile, Jian Li, while not directly engaged in the emotional healing, directed the vast economic upliftment. Under her command, the AI drone bots tirelessly extracted resources from the newly acquired alien mines, ensuring an endless supply of materials for both human needs and galactic restructuring. The abundant food and medical supplies from the hidden Angel fleet bases, the vast, self-sustaining floating massive greenhouses and stockyards, flowed freely, ensuring no human or compliant alien would ever suffer scarcity again. The HGA was not just a military power, it was swiftly establishing itself as a provider, a nurturer, even to its former oppressors. General Armitage, observing Rostover's reactions from afar, saw the shift. The initial bitterness, though still present, was giving way to understanding. Rostover was a commander who had endured the impossible, who had led with honor in a world of lies. Her deep-seated loyalty, even if shaken, remained. She was a bridge between the old and the new, a testament to humanity's enduring spirit. The path to full, internal unity was long, paved with the ghosts of past suffering and the complexity of the truth. But through the dedicated efforts of individuals like Lena and Valerius, and the undeniable, tangible benefits of the HGA's new order, the wounds began to heal, one painful truth at a time. The era of peace, however forcibly acquired, was beginning to find its internal foundation, built on the sacrifices of its past.